Today was a bit of an odd session. For whatever reason, my attention was just gone, and I really wasn't able to focus on what I was doing. For squats, I was trying to do 5 sets of 5 at 290 because I did 285 on Tuesday. But for any person who's keen enough or just paid attention to the little card on the bottom left, I loaded 295 on the bar and did my sets, and I just thought to myself, man, this seemed a little bit heavier than what I thought it was going to be. And I finished the set and just kind of stopped and looked at it, and I was like, oh shoot, that's the wrong weight. It's only supposed to be 290. So I, ran over and deloaded the bar and slapped 290 on it. So took the 35s off and put on a 25, a 5, and a 2.5 on each side and finished out my sets that way. But, it felt really nice. The 295, honestly, despite being a little bit heavier than I was expecting, wasn't like it was unattainable. I'll be doing it anyway on Saturday. And I guess it was a nice little preview of what I'll be doing. But outside of that, things went really well. In my third set, though, I kind of screwed up a little bit, and I miscounted. And instead of doing 5 reps, I only did 4. And I think what happened was when I was doing my squats, usually I tend to pump myself up in my head with the music that I'm listening to and just kind of get into the zone with it. But I had a little too into the zone, and I was kind of following along with it a little too closely, and ended up catching the lyrics where I think had the word 4 when I did my third rep, and I counted in my head and said 4, and did my fourth rep thinking 5, and finished out. And it might have also just been because of a moment of, or I just kind of felt exhausted. I thought, yeah, I'm not this exhausted until I usually do my 5th rep. And so I stopped, took a deep breath, and did the rep. And I'm like, yeah, that's rep number 5. And then I racked the weight and walked back. And I sat there after I finished the set. I thought to myself, was that 4 or 5? I'm not sure. I think that might have been 4, just because I was doubting myself. Watched the recording back and counted 4 reps, and I was like, crap, that was not right. So I kind of thought over how I was going to handle this, if I wanted to just keep it at 4 and call it good and just do the other 2 sets at 5 reps, or just kind of maybe accommodate on the 4th or 5th set with doing 6 reps. And I figured, let me just do the 4th set at 5 reps. We'll see how I feel. We'll go into the 5th. And I felt pretty good, maybe just a little bit tired, but I scheduled the clock or my rest set for about 3 minutes, and just kind of sat there and waited it out. And once I got to that set, I thought, okay, I'm feeling like I have enough energy. Let's just go for 6 reps. I've never done 290 for 6 reps. I did 290 for 5 reps for the first time 2 weeks prior or 3 weeks prior. So, definitely a new milestone there. But loaded the bar, hopped underneath it, and just kind of went for it. It wasn't too bad. I didn't get any moments where, I've had sets where I'm doing them and I finish and I feel like by the end my vision's starting to black out a little bit and I'm really having to force my way through it. But going through this, my depth was good. My hips were definitely below the knees, and I just kind of went through and did my reps. Once I got to the 5th rep right here, cleared through and did it. I had to stop for a second. I'm like, all right, rep 6. Pushed myself in my head, went down, and then just got up and did it. And to be honest, my form wasn't terrible. I was concerned, as I went down of, oh my God, what if my back rounds on the way up because of how tired I am? But I just did it. I just kind of went through. So a little accidental PR in 2 different fashions today. One, in the accidentally doing a heavier set than I thought, and then 2, undercounting 1 set, forcing me to just kind of think, I'll do 1 for 6 and getting the new 6 rep max, I guess. Going over to deadlifts, 340, super easy. This kind of surprised me as I was doing it, considering that 335 kind of struggled a little bit with it 3 weeks ago. But now just breezed right through it. There was no real hesitation to it. I just hopped on top, hopped in the bar, grabbed it, and just pulled it up. And I was concerned that my quads might be a little tired after doing the squats to pull the 340, but just as you can see, broke the weight, give myself a second, and then just pulled it up like nothing else. And let me tell you, I finished this portion of the workout, and I felt strong. This was an extremely fulfilling thing to be able to do. And again, it's odd. I don't know if I'm necessarily getting stronger every week, every week that I'm doing this, once the weights kind of start picking up and get heavier than the previous cycle, or if my body is just becoming more attuned to the weights that I'm pulling and being able to better accommodate what I'm doing. But regardless, it feels so nice to be able to go up in weight. It's a surefire sign that you're progressing in what you're doing and being able to just do it, even with any sort of hesitation or momentary disbelief that I don't know if I'm gonna be able to handle this, I don't know if I can do this, and then you just rip it out like it's nothing. There's nothing to it. And on top of this still showcases that I'm more or less in line with what I perceive to be my 1 rep max on deadlifts. This is still hypothetically, with how things are typically perceived, doing 5 sets of 5 at 340 puts your 1 rep max for deadlifts somewhere in the ballpark of 440 to 450, but I definitely can go higher than that. So I'm curious to see where that ends up settling once I end up kind of maxing out. Part of me, is thinking, hey, I want to try maxing out again at the end of this month, take a week and just kind of relax. Let my body recover for a little bit, and then just hit some maxes on squats, on deadlifts, and I might try doing one on bench that I've had 3 or 4 weeks to just kind of recover and not do as much bench press, so my shoulder can kind of recover a little bit, while also working on my chest and triceps a little more diligently than before. Going into doing these close presses to flies again. These are to kind of work the front delts as well as the pec. So you get the front delts and that stretch and be able to get it going, and then the pec and triceps in that close grip press. But you also get a little bit of the outer pec whenever you're getting that extension right there, coming back in and then pressing down. I could get the weights a little bit closer, but that's a little bit more difficult with how bigger these are. Typically, when I was at the gym doing these, when I was working out at my local gym, they had hex dumbbells, and so I was doing Z presses with them. So don't have that luxury here, just because I wanted to be able to have dumbbells that I can adjust the weight on, and that's fine. I did 10 kilograms for the first 2 sets and thought, what, I got through those just fine. I did 25 pounds, 11 and a half kilos or so last week for the last set. So let me just do it for the 3rd and the 4th sets. And it was a bit of an endeavor. This looks relatively easy just because I'm getting used to the path, the ability or doing this exercise. And my right arm, I know I was kind of lamenting that it seemed a little bit like it was lagging behind before, but I think it's fine now. And again, I think that's just kind of developing the motor neural or the muscular, can't think of the word, but the ability to the mind muscle connection to understand that I need to move my body in this fashion to accomplish this exercise with this desired result. And it just takes repetition for your body to recognize how to do it. So that was, 2 sets at 10 kilos, 22 and a half pounds. And the 3rd and 4th sets were both at 25 pounds or 11 and a half kilos. Really not that bad, definitely heavier. And I think that's one thing I'm really kind of glad about buying those change plates for, is that I'm able to still adequately load an exercise like this without having to jump up such a substantial jump. 2.5 pounds is a lot more negotiable than 5 pounds is when you're doing dumbbells only weighing like 20, 25 pounds or so. So it definitely makes progressing a little bit easier. Just beating yourself up against a wall, hitting 20 pounds as much as possible, not quite being able to make that jump up to 25, just because you don't have that fractional weight in between them. was actually lucky that one of the locations of the gym that I went to when I was going to a gym had fractional dumbbells. And that was very handy for doing things like this, because you could effectively, not necessarily micro load, but still build in an appropriate fashion without going too heavy and getting stuck on like such a disproportionate increase with an exercise that can't necessarily handle an increase that large. So going into the fourth set with this, it was a little bit more difficult, just because at this point I was starting to feel tired. It was 2 sets of doing 25, which I had not done at this point, and it was a lot. I just locked in on one part of my ceiling and just counted in my head each rep. Typically I'll just, sit here and I'll go like, oh, okay, 4, and then press the 4th, and then go 5, press 5, and just kind of count myself that way. Otherwise, for whatever reason, I just like can't keep track of these. And I think it's just because of the mix of the movement throws off my ability to like think about it. But I think it's a very good exercise. You can definitely see me tired out right here. But I think it's good. Definitely works the front delts, like I was mentioning, and the pecs. I had a pretty good pump in my pecs when I was done, and my delts, felt pretty good. They were a little tired after doing all the different exercises I did on Tuesday for my shoulders, but it's just going to take time for them to accommodate and get used to the load there, which is fine. That's all part of doing this and developing your muscles and your body. It's never going to be a situation to where you're going to hop on something and always be perfect at it or great at it right away. It takes time to develop the necessary skills to do this, because this is a skill. This isn't like, something that you just kind of pick up and do perfectly right away. It takes practice, it takes repetition, and it takes measured progress to be able to adequately improve what you're doing. So, you can't just go on again, off again, on again, off again with it, because your body will say, okay, we did that once, that was cool, I guess we won't do that again. And it doesn't familiarize itself with the ability to do that. But by doing these over and over and over again, your body gets used to moving in these fashions. It gets used to the kind of stresses and loads you're dealing with, and you're able to better compensate for it. That's why you'll kind of find beginner gains and newbie gains to be so substantial and satisfying, because you may have the strength to do these things, but you don't have the motor neural pathways to do it. And as you learn how to use your body, your weights and the number of repetitions and your endurance that you could do explodes almost seemingly exponentially at the beginning, because you're just kind of learning to do it. And that's kind of been a theme that I've been hitting on for myself, where I'm just kind of rediscovering what my body can do after taking so much time off and having a lot of latent strength that I haven't been able to really fully utilize because I've been injured for such a long time with my torn shoulder. And then I really don't do too much bodybuilding work, but I definitely have the muscles and the capability and the strength to do it, but it's just learning how to do that proper utilization of it. And I think that this will definitely help in the long term for me with doing things like overhead press and doing bench press, just because those, again, that I harp on as well, can be kind of damaging movements in the long term for your shoulders and for your joints. It just kind of feels rough. But being able to build up the muscles around it and then come back and occasionally work on it isn't necessarily the worst thing, but you do have to make sure that you maintain some degree of familiarity with the movement. So kind of a little bit rambly at times today with the explanations. Everything kind of goes to the theme of just not being able to keep track of what I was doing at times. But overall, a very satisfying workout. I got an all-time PR for deadlifts, an accidental PR on squats, and a second accidental PR on squats. So kind of a mixed bag, but a very positive one at the same time. And I'm looking forward to doing Saturday, to where I can formally PR on squats and get in a good 5 sets of 5 at 295.